I were making a list of the most important IEMs of the last 10 years, Campfire Andromeda would probably be pretty close to the top for what it achieved both in terms of the design, the style, the sound. I don't think I'm alone in considering it not just one of the best, but also something that was majorly influential in pushing hi-fi earphones forward. Since Andromeda, Campfire Audio's made a number of other really great notable IEMs like the Solaris, but there's a feeling in some parts of the community that they can have a little bit of style over substance, great builds, cool packaging, but they're not delivering the sound or the innovation that kind of put them on the map. If there's anything in their current lineup that can prove they really are still innovating and pushing IEMs forward, it's their planar magnetic offerings and specifically the all-new Astrolith. What's going on, everybody? This is Steve from Bloom Audio. Today we're going to talk about the Campfire Audio Astrolith. Astrolith is their latest IEM release as of the making of this video. Astrolith takes elements from some of their recent designs like the Supermoon, and I think elements of classics like Andromeda, puts them together to create something that is new and innovative. But the question is, can it capture the same magic that entranced audiophiles the way the original Andromeda did? To answer that, we're going to take a look at what is Astrolith, who is it for, and ask, should you buy it? Astrolith is an all-planar magnetic IEM that uses 2 drivers per side to create its sound. So as rare as planar magnetic drivers are in IEMs, having 2 of them in the same IEM is even more rare, and having 2 planar magnetic drivers and still managing to deliver a natural timbre and presentation is even more impressive. Astrolith uses one 14.2mm driver that covers the sub bass up through the mids, and a 6mm driver that covers the treble and upper extension. The end result is something that to me captures a little bit of the classic Odyssey planar magnetic over-ear sound in an IEM. Expect a wide sound stage, very wide sound stage, good sense of 3-dimensionality, solid imaging, good definition and separation in the sound. But with all of that, there is just a slight elevation of the bass over everything else that depending on the source as well, will add a touch of almost a darkness to the sound, which again, to me, evokes the sound of that like LCD2 Classic or LCD4 from Odyssey. In terms of the key specs, priced at $21.99, Astrolith is a dual planar magnetic design with one 14.2mm driver and one 6mm driver. The sensitivity is 94 dB and the impedance is 8.2 ohms. What stands out to me most with those specs is that this is a lower than typical sensitivity for an IEM. Most IEMs are going to hit that sensitivity over 100 dB, and it's a typical low impedance under 10 ohms, which Campfire Audio really likes. What that is going to mean, the low sensitivity means it is going to react better to a little bit more power than just, say, the headphone jack or dongle that came with your phone. But that low impedance means it's not going to need a ton of power still. But it's going to be really sensitive to the source. Package is also pretty nice here. It's essentially the deluxe package from the Chromatic series that Campfire Audio has been doing. The package, you get, a leather case, you get a nylon case, and additional, those little sleeves to put the IEMs in before you put them in the case so they don't get scratched up. 2 cables, both the time stream cable, which is a flat design where rather than having the wires braided around each other, they're laid out flat like somebody steamrolled them into a pancake wire. I don't know if that makes any sense. And then you get the, normal stuff, some ear tips and that. And the whole thing, this got this theme, it seems very retro sci-fi, kind of a vintage, retro futuristic look to it. IEMs themselves are essentially a custom mold style material with just a universal nozzle on it, essentially. Astrolith uses, for the part touching your ear, that's pretty much the same as the Chromatic series, but it has a more elaborate faceplate where the Chromatic series all has a really simple, just very small faceplate on it. This has a full-size stainless steel, really nicely designed plate on it. One advantage of using that Chromatic series design is that the Chromatic series IEMs were really lightweight and comfortable, and it's no different here. Astrolith is very lightweight and very comfortable. One of the easiest Campfire audio IEMs I can remember to get a good solid fit with, and because of that, it's great for tip rolling. I didn't feel like I needed to use a specific tip to really get a good fit, so I could try out just about everything with that. So putting all those pieces together, build, the design, the sound, who is this IEM for? So to ask who this is for, I'm thinking about a couple things. Is this something that someone just getting into the hobby who's looking for a high-end option? It's gonna handle music really well universally. Are they gonna be able to appreciate this? Is there some element of it that's genre specific? This is great for metal, but average for everything else. And also for someone who is big into the hobby, is this something that they're going to enjoy as well? Something that has some unique characteristics and quality to it that isn't gonna feel redundant in a large collection of high-end IEMs. The first case where if you're not that into the hobby, you're looking for something high-end that's gonna perform well all around. I think Astrolith, from a sound quality presentation perspective, is excellent. It captures some of that warmth that made the original Andromeda so good, both in the vocals, just a little bit in that lower mid-bass region as well. Makes it a real kind of addictive, crowd-pleasing sort of sound. The sub-bass is one of the biggest standouts. And again, just that general feeling of soundstage, and it captures some of those elements of over-ear planar magnetic headphones in an IEM form factor. I think all those things make it a really strong pick overall. And then you can add into that the technical capabilities, which are, I think, pretty similar to the Supermoon, which was a really strong technical performer as a planar magnetic IEM. In a way, I think a lot of what I feel about Astrolith, it's like a combination of Andromeda and Supermoon. It gets those planar characteristics, the better slam, the deeper sub bass that Andromeda was lacking, but it has some of that sweetness and warmth that Supermoon was lacking. And you put them together, you get something really solid. As I mentioned in the previous section though, this is also an IEM that's gonna be sensitive to your source. So if you're planning on using this just with your phone, you may find it to be a little bit anemic at times because of that lower sensitivity. It just needs a little more power to drive. I got best results with dedicated DAPs. The DX180 was great, all the way up to the SP3000 if you want to pair it with that. I did feel like just the tuning, something about the design of the SP3000, that actually wasn't my favorite pick with that. I actually preferred DX320, I'd say, for my basso was what I ended up really liking the most and spending the most time listening to. Stuff like the DC Elite, the IFI, Gobar Kensei were also great. As I also mentioned, the fit makes this great for tip rolling. If you want to get a really good idea of the characteristics of a lot of different tips, play with the way that affects the sound of Astrolith and get some different sounds. For those people diving a little bit deeper into the hobby, trying out multiple sources, trying out different tips, Astrolith is definitely a great vehicle for that, to get a really high quality sound and tweak it to your preference using different sources and ear tips and even cables. So in general, I think this is an IEM that could be a great pick for just about anyone who's got $2 grand to spend on some IEMs. Which leads us to our last question. Should you buy Astrolith? Probably the biggest piece of the should you buy an IEM is going to be, what does your existing collection look like and how does it compare to those IEMs? The first two that kind of come to mind to me here are the 64 Audio Velour, which hits a lot of the same notes as Astrolith. There's some elements of it. It does sound kind of like a refined bass head tuning. There's definitely emphasis in the bass. There's really powerful sub bass, but it's not like the old Campfire Polaris, which was just an absolute, monster bass thumping, shake your fillings free of your skull kind of thing. Also in the conversation is the Campfire Bonneville. Both Bonneville and Velour are hybrid designs with dynamic and balanced armature drivers in them. Now the Bonneville is a bit simpler than the Velour, which has like 2 dynamic drivers and a ton of balanced armatures and all that, where Bonneville is just a 4-driver IEM. Bonneville is also a little bit more of that sort of classic, slightly warm hybrid sound. It's got that dynamic driver punch. Both Velour and Bonneville have that, where there's just a little bit more of a roundness and something more tactile about the dynamic driver impact over the planar magnetic driver impact. So they all have impact. Bonneville is probably going to hit you the hardest in the bass, where Velour is in between in terms of the punch. Astrolith, again, there's great slam, there's a great rumble in the sub bass. It doesn't quite punch in the mid bass as hard as that. You also get this kind of sense of warmth that can come from the mid bass and lower mids. And I find that tip is one of the biggest thing that adds that feeling of natural timbre. Astrolith definitely has that here, has a little bit of extra low mid that adds the warmth and sweetness to the sound. Now, the mid-range is where I think Astrolith really is a step above Velour. Velour's lower mids, into the sort of main 1K range, the details there aren't as strong. I think Velour focuses more on the separation and layering of instruments, where Astrolith gives you a little bit more body, a little bit more note weight than Velour does. And Bonneville again comes in looking at the 3 of these together and gives you the most sort of lush, weighty sound. But Bonneville can maybe be a little over lush at times, while I think Velour and Astrolith control that a little bit better for a cleaner feeling mid-range. Really feel like Astrolith pulls ahead of both of them here by having both a little bit of more warmth to the sound than Velour, and being significantly cleaner in that layering and separation element than Bonneville. The soundstage is another big piece here. Astrolith does present a huge soundstage, a really great separation and holographic feeling in the imaging. I find both Velour and Bonneville to be a little bit more sort of rounded and 3-dimensional in the sound, where Astrolith feels ultra wide, but not as much in the forward sense. It kind of gives you a great center, great width. I don't know that it fills in what's in between as well as Bonneville and Velour both do. So if you're looking at some IEMs trying to make a decision here, Astrolith on the technical end, absolutely is one of the best in class in this $2,000 range, maybe pushing up to $3,000 range. I think they've got a really good handle on these planar magnetic drivers. And when you get into those other little things, the fit and design and all of that, it's an excellent fit, which has started to become a little bit more of a differentiator as higher driver counts are becoming more common. I talk about this one a lot, but I just spent some time with the Fat Freak Grand Maestro, and it's like, man, like this sounds great, but I've got to get it just right in my ears. I've got to use the right tips, have it turned exactly right. Didn't run into any of that with Astrolith. I just kind of popped it in and it sounds great. So the bottom line is this is a great IEM, great design and fit, great technical performance combined with an excellent natural sounding tuning. And really, if it comes down to it, this isn't just a great IEM or something new and different from Campfire. I think this is probably the best planar magnetic IEM that I've ever heard, and the best IEM that Campfire Audio has released since Andromeda. Thanks for watching. You can check out Astrolith and the other products that we mentioned in this video at bloomaudio.com. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll be back soon with more high fidelity audio content.